The Indo-Pakistani War of 1947–1948, sometimes known as the First Kashmir War, was fought between India and Pakistan over the princely state of Kashmir and Jammu from 1947 to 1948. It was the first of four Indo-Pakistan wars fought between the two newly independent nations. Pakistan precipitated the war a few weeks after independence by launching tribal Lashkar from Waziristan, in an effort to secure Kashmir, the future of which hung in the balance. The inconclusive result of the war still affects the geopolitics of both countries. On the 22nd of October 1947, Muslim tribal militias crossed the border of the state, claiming that they were needed to suppress a rebellion in the southeast of the kingdom. These local tribal militias and irregular Pakistani forces moved to take Srinagar, but on reaching Uri they encountered resistance. Hari Singh made a plea to India for assistance, and help was offered, but it was subject to his signing an instrument of accession to India. British officers in the subcontinent also took part in stopping the Pakistani army from advancing. The war was initially fought by the J&K state forces led by Major General Scott and by tribal militias from the northwest frontier province and the federally administered tribal areas. Facing the assault and a Muslim revolution in the western borders of the state, the ruler of the princely state of Kashmir and Jammu, who was a Hindu, signed an instrument of accession to the Union of India. The Indian and Pakistani armies entered the war after this. The fronts solidified gradually along what came to be known as the Line of Control. A formal ceasefire was declared at 23:59 on the night of 1 January 1949. Background. Prior to 1815, the area now known as Jammu and Kashmir comprised 22 small independent states carved out of territories controlled by the Emir of Afghanistan, combined with those of local small rulers. These were collectively referred to as the Punjab Hill States. These small states, ruled by Rajput kings, were variously independent, vassals of the Mughal Empire since the time of Emperor Akbar, or sometimes controlled from Kangra state in the Himachal area. Following the decline of the Mughals, turbulence in Kangra and invasions of Gorkhas, the hill states fell successively under the control of the Sikhs under Ranjit Singh. The First Anglo-Sikh War was fought between the Sikh Empire, which asserted sovereignty over Kashmir, and the East India Company. In the Treaty of Lahore of 1846, the Sikhs were made to surrender the valuable region between the Beas River and the Sutlej River, and required to pay an indemnity of 1.2 million rupees. Because they could not readily raise this sum, the East India Company allowed the Dogra ruler Gulab Singh to acquire Kashmir from the Sikh kingdom in exchange for making a payment of 750,000 rupees to the company. Gulab Singh became the first Maharaja of the newly formed princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, founding a dynasty that was to rule the state, the second largest principality during the British Raj, until India gained its independence in 1947. Accession of Kashmir. The partition of British India and the independence of the new dominions of India and Pakistan was the result of the Indian Independence Act 1947. Article 2 of the Act provided for the termination of British paramountcy over the princely states with effect from 15 August 1947, and recognised the right of the states to choose whether to accede to India or to Pakistan, or to remain outside them. Before and after the withdrawal of the British from India, the ruler of the princely state of Kashmir and Jammu came under pressure from both India and Pakistan to agree to accede to one of the newly independent countries. Maharaja of Kashmir, Hari Singh, decided to avoid accession to either country. Following a Muslim revolution in the Poonch and Mirpur area and an allegedly Pakistani-backed Pashtun tribal intervention from the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, aimed at supporting the revolution, the Maharaja asked for Indian military assistance. India set the condition that Kashmir must accede to India for it to receive assistance. The Maharaja complied, and the government of India recognized the accession of the princely state to India. Indian troops were sent to the state to defend it. The Jammu and Kashmir National Conference volunteers aided the Indian Army in its campaign to drive out the Pathan invaders. Pakistan refused to recognize the accession of Kashmir to India, claiming that it was obtained by fraud and violence. Governor-General Muhammad Ali Jinnah ordered its Army Chief General Douglas Gracey to move Pakistani troops to Kashmir at once. However, the Indian and Pakistani forces were still under a joint command, and Field Marshal Affleck prevailed upon him to withdraw the order. With its accession to India, Kashmir became legally Indian territory, and the British officers could not play any role in an inter-dominion war. The Pakistan Army made available arms, ammunition and supplies to the rebel forces, who were dubbed the Azad Army. Pakistani Army officers conveniently on leave, and the former officers of the Indian National Army were recruited to command the forces. In May 1948, the Pakistani Army officially entered the conflict, in theory to defend the Pakistan borders, but it made plans to push towards Jammu and cut the lines of communications of the Indian forces in the Mendar Valley. In Gilgit, the force of Gilgit Scouts under the command of a British officer, Major William Brown, mutinied and overthrew the governor Gansara Singh. Brown prevailed on the forces to declare accession to Pakistan. They are also believed to have received assistance from the Chitral Scouts of the state of Chitral, one of the princely states of Pakistan, which had acceded to Pakistan on 6 October 1947. Stages of the war. The rebellion in Poonch. In the Poonch region, there was a large number of ex-servicemen who had served in the British Indian Army in World War II. Most of these ex-servicemen were of Sudan origin and had a long-standing dissident relations with the Dogra regime. On 21 April 1947, Hari Singh was invited to Rawalakot, where a large number of ex-servicemen turned up and paraded with their weapons. This triggered a series of defensive maneuvers by Hari Singh to disarm the locals and enforce stricter military control. The Poonch region had around 60,000 ex-servicemen were organizing a home guard that would attack the Dogra army at the right time. During the war, this group formed a war council in Murree, and most of the ammunition was smuggled from Dara Adam Keel and a large number of fighters from Waziristan, and the federally administered tribal areas were also injected through local contacts and the Pakistan Army. Initial invasion. The first clash occurred at Thora on 3–4 October 1947. On the 22nd of October, another attack was launched in the Muzaffarabad sector. The state forces stationed in the border regions around Muzaffarabad and Domel were quickly defeated by tribal forces, and the way to the capital was open. Among the raiders, there were many active Pakistani army soldiers disguised as tribals. They were also provided logistical help by the Pakistan Army. Rather than advancing toward Srinagar before state forces could regroup or be reinforced, the invading forces remained in the captured cities in the border region, engaging in looting and other crimes against their inhabitants. In the Poonch Valley, the state forces retreated into towns where they were besieged. Indian operation in the Kashmir Valley. After the accession, India airlifted troops and equipment to Srinagar, where they reinforced the princely state forces, established a defense perimeter and defeated the tribal forces on the outskirts of the city. Initial defense operations included the notable defense of Bajam, holding both the capital and airfield overnight against extreme odds. The successful defense included an outflanking maneuver by Indian armored cars. During the Battle of Shalatang, the defeated tribal forces were pursued as far as Baramulla and Uri, and these towns were recaptured. In the Poonch Valley, tribal forces continued to besiege state forces. In Gilgit, the state paramilitary forces, called the Gilgit Scouts, joined the invading tribal forces, who thereby obtained control of this northern region of the state. The tribal forces were also joined by troops from Chitral, whose ruler, the Matar of Chitral, had acceded to Pakistan. Attempted link-up at Poonch and fall of Mirpur. Indian forces ceased pursuit of tribal forces after recapturing Uri and Baramulla, and sent a relief column southwards, in an attempt to relieve Poonch. Although the relief column eventually reached Poonch, the siege could not be lifted. A second relief column reached Kotli, and evacuated the garrisons of that town and others, but were forced to abandon it, being too weak to defend it. Meanwhile, Mirpur was captured by the tribal forces on 25 November 1947. Hindu women were reportedly abducted by tribal forces and taken into Pakistan. They were sold in the brothels of Rawalpindi. Around 400 women jumped into wells in Mirpur, committing suicide to escape from being abducted. Fall of Jainja and attacks on Naroshera and Uri. The tribal forces attacked and captured Jainja. They then attacked Naroshera unsuccessfully, and made a series of unsuccessful attacks on Uri. In the south, a minor Indian attack secured Chamb. By this stage of the war, the front line began to stabilize as more Indian troops became available. Operation Vijay counterattacked Jainja. The Indian forces launched a counterattack in the south, recapturing Jainja and Rajri. In the Kashmir Valley, the tribal forces continued attacking the Uri garrison. In the north, Skardu was brought under siege by the Gilgit Scouts. Indian Spring Offensive. The Indians held on to Jainja against numerous counterattacks, who were increasingly supported by regular Pakistani forces. In the Kashmir Valley, the Indians attacked, recapturing Tithwale. The Gilgit Scouts made good progress in the high Himalayas sector, infiltrating troops to bring Leh under siege, capturing Kargil and defeating a relief column heading for Skardu. Operations Gulab and Erase. The Indians continued to attack in the Kashmir Valley sector, driving north to capture Karan and Gurez. They also repelled a counterattack aimed at Tidal. In the Jammu region, the forces besieged in Poonch broke out and temporarily linked up with the outside world again. The Kashmir State Army was able to defend Skardu from the Gilgit Scouts, impeding their advance down the Indus Valley towards Leh. In August, the Chitral forces under Matar ul Mulk besieged Skardu and with the help of artillery were able to take Skardu. This freed the Gilgit Scouts to push further into Ladakh. Operation Bison. During this time, the front began to settle down. The siege of Poonch continued. An unsuccessful attack was launched by 77 Parachute Brigade to capture Zojila Pass. Operation Duck, the earlier epithet for this assault, was renamed as Operation Bison by Cariappa. M5 Stuart light tanks of 7 cavalry were moved in dismantled conditions through Srinagar and winched across bridges, while 2 field companies of the Madras sappers converted the mule track across Zojila into a jeep track. The surprise attack on 1 November by the brigade, with armour supported by 2 regiments of 25-pounders and a regiment of 3.7-INCH guns, forced the pass and pushed the tribal Pakistani forces back to Matayan and later Dras. The brigade linked up on 24 November at Kargil with Indian troops advancing from Leh, while their opponents eventually withdrew northwards toward Skardu. Operation Easy Poonch link up. The Indians now started to get the upper hand in all sectors. Poonch was finally relieved after a siege of over a year. The Gilgit forces in the high Himalayas, who had previously made good progress, were finally defeated. The Indians pursued as far as Kargil before being forced to halt due to supply problems. The Zojila Pass was forced by using tanks and Dras was recaptured. Moves up to ceasefire. After protracted negotiations, a ceasefire was agreed to by both countries, which came into effect. The terms of the ceasefire, as laid out in a United Nations resolution of 13 August 1948, were adopted by the UN on 5 January 1949. This required Pakistan to withdraw its forces, both regular and irregular, while allowing India to maintain minimum strength of its forces in the state to preserve law and order. On compliance of these conditions, a plebiscite was to be held to determine the future of the territory. In all, 1,500 soldiers died on each side during the war, and Pakistan was able to acquire roughly 2/5 of Kashmir, including 5 of the 14 8,000 as peaks of the world, while India maintained the remaining 3/5 of Kashmir, including the most populous and fertile regions. Military awards. Battle honours. After the war, a total of number of 11 battle honours and 1 theatre honour were awarded to units of the Indian Army, the notable amongst which are gallantry awards for bravery. A number of soldiers and officers were awarded the highest gallantry award of their respective countries. Following is a list of the recipients of the Indian Award Param Vir Chakra, and the Pakistani Award Nishani-Haider. India Major Somnath Sharma, Lance Naik Karam Singh, 2nd Lieutenant Rama Ragho Bahrain, Jadunath Singh, Company Havildar Major Peru Singh Shekhawat, Pakistan Captain Muhammad Sarwar Shaheed. Bibliography. Major sources: Ministry of Defence, Government of India. Operations in Jammu and Kashmir 1947–1948. Thomson Press Limited, New Delhi. This is the Indian official history. Lamb, Alistair. Kashmir, A Disputed Legacy, 1846–1990. Roxford Books. ISBN 0-907129-064. Praval, K.C. The Indian Army After Independence. Lancer International. ISBN 1-897829-450. Schofield, Victoria. First published in 2000. Kashmir in Conflict. London and New York. I.B. Taurus & Co. ISBN 1860648983. Sen, Marge Jen L.P. Slender Was the Thread. The Kashmir Confrontation 1947–1948. Orient Longmans Limited, New Delhi. Vass, L.T. Jen. E.A. Without Baggage. A Personal Account of the Jammu and Kashmir Operations 1947–1949. Natridge Publishers, Dehradun. ISBN 81-85019-09-6. Other sources: Cohen, L.T. Colonel Morris. Thunder Over Kashmir. Orient Longman Limited. Hyderabad. Hines, Brig Gen Senior. Battle of Zojila. Military Digest, New Delhi. Sandhu, Marge Jen Gurcharan. The Indian Armour. History of the Indian Armoured Corps 1941–1971. Vision Books Private Limited, New Delhi. ISBN 81-7094-004-4. Singh, Marge K. Brahma. History of Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. Lancer International, New Delhi. ISBN 81-7062-091-0. Ayub, Muhammad. An Army, Its Role and Rule. A History of the Pakistan Army from Independence to Kargil, 1947–1999. Rosedog Books. ISBN 9780805995947.